In other words, the principle of separation of church and state. Now, to implement that in the Bill of Rights, we have Section 5. In Section 5, there are our rights, no, in relation to religion. So there are several rights mentioned there. The non-establishment clause, that means the state will not establish any religion, and the free exercise clause, meaning while the state will not establish any religion, there will be no official state religion. The state will not spend any money to support or establish any religion. On the other hand, it will not prevent its citizens from exercising the religion that they wish to believe in. Okay? And then, of course, there is the no religious test, the right against any religious test. That means religion cannot be a precondition for the exercise. Religion or no religion cannot be a precondition for the exercise of civil or political rights. Okay? So those are the basic rights to implement the separation, the principle of separation of church and state. So let us look at some of the cases. No? In Aglipay versus Ruiz, no, this is a case involving a question against an alleged violation of the non-establishment clause. Okay? Why was it alleged that there was a violation? Because the Bureau of Posts, no, at that time, printed stamps, commemorative stamps, no, to commemorate the 33rd International Eucharistic Congress. This, of course, is a Catholic celebration. So the symbols used there were basically Catholic symbols: the chalice, grapevine, stalks of wheat, the cross, no, basically Catholic symbols. So si Aglipay, who was of course the leader of the Aglipayan Church, no, if you know your history, you should be aware of the Aglipayan Church, no. He filed this case because he claims that this is a violation of the non-establishment clause, because here the state, no, spent public funds. In fact, produce stamps, right, to glorify a Catholic celebration. So Aglipay asserts this is a violation of the non-establishment clause. Of course, the Supreme Court disagreed. Sabi ng Supreme Court, it is not true that the state, by printing the stamps, was glorifying a Catholic celebration. It is not true that the state is supporting the Catholic religion by spending public funds to commemorate the celebration, which is a Catholic celebration. You know? Instead, sabi ng Supreme Court, the state is merely riding on, okay, a religious celebration to promote itself for tourism purposes. Okay? So sabi niya, there is no violation of the non-establishment clause, which of course, to me, in my humble opinion, is a grand palusot. It is clear that the state spent money, public funds, to promote a particular religion's celebration. Okay? But you cannot blame the Supreme Court because a lot of times, class, no? A lot of times, as you will see in the different cases, even in the United States, there is a thin line kasi, class, between religious practices and cultural practices. Okay? Thin line. Because many of the religious practices have already evolved into cultural practices. So halimbawa, why is Holy Thursday of the Catholic religion, Holy Thursday of the Catholic religion, usually up to Easter Sunday, a holiday? Okay. It can be argued that is a violation of the non-establishment clause because that is a Catholic celebration. Other religions do not necessarily believe in that Holy Week. And yet, the state supports a Catholic celebration. It would appear that the state supports a Catholic celebration as, in fact, as an employer, I am required to give my employees a holiday. And in fact, if I make them work, I pay them holiday pay. So it is a state-sanctioned holiday, right? Which is a religious holiday, a Catholic holiday. So at first glance, it appears as if it is a violation of the non-establishment clause because the state is making people celebrate the holiday that is Catholic. You understand? Pero, why do we do that? Isn't that unconstitutional? No. Because ang palusot natin dyan, sorry, I call it palusot. But the explanation is that truth is, most of you class, the Catholics in this class, do not really celebrate or commemorate Holy Week as we should as Catholics. Right? Most of you look at the Holy Week as the time for vacation. Di ba? I mean, ako, inabot ko yung panahon, class, na nung Holy Week, nung bata kami, bawal kami maglaro, bawal kami tumawa, bawal nga kami maligo. No other activities, pati TV, bawal. Pwede lang namin gawin during Holy Week is magbasa ng pasyon. Ngayon, kayo, Holy Week, January pa lang, tinitignan nyo na yung Holy Week para iplano nyo yung kailan kayo pupunta ng Boracay, di ba? Kailan kayo pupunta ng Palawan. Okay. So what was originally a Catholic celebration has already actually evolved into a cultural one. Which is why the state can now justify it and say, hindi naman namin yan ginagawang holiday for the Catholic Church. Ginagawa namin yung holiday kasi alam namin panahon ng baksyon niya ng mga mamamayang Pilipino. Same is true for Christmas. Bakit holiday ang Pasko? That's a Christian celebration. Di ba? Bakit naging holiday? Bakit public holiday? So you may argue it is a violation of the non-establishment clause. But precisely, hindi nga siya violation ng non-establishment clause kasi nga cultural na eh. You do not celebrate December 25 because it is the birth of Jesus Christ. You celebrate December 25 because it is the time for family reunions, gift giving, parties, etc., etc. Ginagamit nyo na lang excuse ang pangalan ni Jesucristo. Diba? So that is the usual thin line. No? Kaya even in this case, sabi ng Supreme Court, hindi naman namin sinusuport ang Catholic religion. The state is not establishing the Catholic religion. It is merely taking advantage of a Catholic celebration to promote the country. Okay. In Islamic Dawa Council versus Executive Secretary, this involves an executive order creating the Philippine Halal Certification Scheme. Alam nyo kasi yung mga brother Muslims natin, there are certain food that they cannot eat, no? And the prohibition is because of their religion. Okay? In other words, according to their religion, there are certain food that they cannot eat. So, para safe sila, okay, may mga tinatawag na halal certification. That means in this case, prior to the executive order, it was the Islamic Dawa Council that would certify. If there is an Islamic Dawa Council certification, our Muslim brothers can rest assured that this is safe to eat. It is not a violation of our religion. But according to the executive order, dapat Office of Muslim Affairs na ang gumawa nun. Okay? Islamic Dawa Council filed this case and said, why are you interfering in our religious affairs? That is a violation of the non-establishment clause. And the Supreme Court agreed. Why? Because how would the state certify a food? It will be based on either the Quran or the Sunnah or both. I'm not sure, no? Sorry, hindi ako Muslim. Correct me, no? Pero it's either the Quran or the Sunnah. So that means the state now will be looking at a religious literature to determine what is state policy. Okay? And they will be directly interfering with the citizens' exercise of their religion. That cannot be allowed. Okay? So the Supreme Court said, hindi pwede ang executive order na yan. It is a violation of Section 5. In the letter of Atty. Valenciano, this is if you are familiar with the Quezon City, no? Yung old Hall of Justice. Every noontime sa basement nun, transform na nila parang chapel yon. Tapos may Catholic Mass. So Atty. Valenciano wrote to the Supreme Court and said, ano ba naman yan? In the Hall of Justice pa, doon merong clear violation of the non-establishment clause. Kasi there is a Catholic Mass there every day. That is a clear violation, sabi niya. Hindi pwede yan. But the Supreme Court said, there is a difference between establishment and accommodation. Establishment requires a positive act of supporting, building up, no, a particular religion. Accommodation is passive. So in this case, sabi ng Supreme Court, we accommodate lang kami. Some religion wants to use the facility, we simply accommodate as part of benevolent neutrality, implying therefore that any other religion who would have requested would have been given the same right. Which of course, well, we have to test that. We have to test that. If, for example, Banal Labutas request that we have our ceremony there, will we be allowed? I doubt very much that. No? But the Supreme Court said accommodation is different from establishment.